Hello, welcome to Lemon Studios, where we talk movies, television, and wrestling. I'm, of course, the Lemon himself, Zeke Lemon, and this is my review for Marvel's Wonder Man. But before we get into that, let's get the house clean out of the way. Share and leave a like, comment below, let me know your thoughts on Marvel's Wonder Man, and of course, hit that subscribe button as it helps me grow into my YouTube career. I would greatly appreciate it. Now, all that out of the way, let's get into it, shall we? So yeah, Marvel's Wonder Man, Marvel's first attempt at kind of being meta. Nope, that's not true because we had Deadpool and Wolverine, and then we had She-Hulk before that. But being meta without breaking the fourth wall, if you will, because this is Yahya, who plays Simon, who is going for a role to be a superhero, but he has superpowers himself. And the marketing for this movie has been so and so, and also leading up to the release and even on the release date itself, there was some controversy surrounding this film because Marvel made the decision to drop all the episodes at once. Now, before we get into the controversy completely, I do want to say I do understand where people are coming from, because I believe it's only 3 projects that Marvel has chosen to drop all the episodes at once. And if you look at the 3, Echo, Eyes of Wakanda, and now Wonder Man, there is one consistency between the 3. I am also someone who is very much a defender of go week to week, because every single week you build up anticipation, until you get to this, the audience just grows if your show is good enough, because people don't want to miss out at that point. So I understand why people will want it to go week to week, considering with the past what the other shows have done. And again, like the shows where they don't feel like Marvel feels like they don't have a lot of confidence in, they seem to just okay, we'll drop it, we won't market it that much, we'll get it water under the bridge pretty much. I feel like Wonder Man, they promoted they promoted a little bit more than other Marvel shows. Ironheart had very little marketing, and this one had more marketing than that. I think overall the shows seem to follow under the radar a little bit. After Loki, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and WandaVision, that first wave of shows, if you will, the marketing for television shows has dropped off quite significantly. Even some of the really good ones, like their animated stuff, X-Men 97. So I don't think marketing is really a fair criticism to give Marvel, because they have been pretty consistent with that. Now, with that being said, again, as someone who is the defender of the week to week and who understands why people could be a little frustrated at dropping this show, especially with the critical acclaim that this show has, and it is very warranted. This show, to me, is very good, borderline phenomenal. I think it's up there with the upper echelon of shows. There's Loki, WandaVision, and then probably Wonder Man, and then I have to really think about the shows to see where I rank them. Maybe that could be a video in the near future, but I do think it is in that upper tier. This movie could not survive a week to week, and that's just simply because, one, of the runtime. These episodes average between 33 to 35 minutes. I don't think any episode got above 40 minutes, and history has shown multiple times that Marvel fans, or just genre fans for that matter, don't respond well to short episodes. There have been, I can recall many times throughout. Granted, the episodes have been longer in the past before, so maybe that has something to do with it. You got to know what your established length time is. But when a shorter episode that is under that 40-minute mark, people are like, oh, I waited a week for 30 minutes. That has happened quite significantly. They saw this show, okay, they saw their gap was between 33 to 35. We're going to keep it within that pocket all the way through. Maybe an episode got to 38, but I highly doubt it. We're going to keep it within that pocket. People aren't going to respond well to waiting a week to go 30 to 35 minutes. Is it worth to go 8 weeks, or do we march it up together and just throw it out? Then there's the conversation of, there's 2 different shows, but they had a different marketing. Ironheart, for that example, where they split into 2 weeks, right? They released the first 4, then the next 4 were after that. And I don't think you could do that with this show either, because of episode 4. Episode 4 in a lot of ways would be considered a filler episode. I think is very worthy to the show. I think is very necessary to explain why Wonder Man cannot let people know that he has superpowers because of the doorman clause that was in effect for being in movies before. Could we have shortened that if this was a movie? Sure. And if this was to go week to week, do we get that episode? I don't think we do. So you can't go split to split, because if you end on that episode 4, you're just like, well, I just watched 3 episodes and then a special show. Now I got to wait another week to actually get the story to move forward. I can see people reacting like that. I didn't think like that, but I can see people thinking like that if we were to do that. Then there's the whole what if release, right? Where we do 1 episode per week. And overall, I think that probably would have been the better way to go, as opposed to dropping it all at once. But again, episode 4 does raise some questions within that. And also, again, you're going to make them watch 30 minutes and then wait 24 hours to watch the next one. Would people get a little fatigued? Again, I don't necessarily know. But yeah, overall, I think Marvel made the right choice to just drop it all at once. And this is kind of like a 4-hour epic, because 8 episodes, each one within 30 minutes. It's about a 4-hour movie with 30-minute break periods, right? After 30 minutes, here's an intermission. After 30 minutes, here's an intermission. And I don't think any episode was fully complete without the other going with it. I think they all really connected with each other very, very well. Ooh, what is the Doorman Clause? Okay, episode 4. Here's what the Doorman Clause is and why it is so effective, and also to show how Hollywood is. Okay, so that ties 3 and 4 together. And again, 1, if this was to be weekly, after episode 1, I'd be like, yeah, that was cool, but I don't know if I'm like yearning for the next episode. I'm not like anticipating the following week. Again, they all stitch to each other very, very well, where I think the binge watch is what's best suited for the whole entire show. As for the actual story itself, I'm sorry for going so long. I hope my analysis has been engaging enough for you. Again, I found Simon, played by Yahya, who is a truly underrated actor. I don't think this is the project that's going to get him into the level of name that I think he deserves to be at. He picks big projects. You know, he's had Candyman, he's had the Aquaman franchise, and now he's here at Wonder Man. Like 3 pretty big IPs and brands, but none of those projects seem to be the ones that get him into that bigger name that I honestly do think he deserves to be at, because he's a phenomenal actor, and he really shows that in this character here. And honestly, out of all the Marvel characters, you know, Spider-Man's always going to be my guy, who I relate to the most. But he really made Simon, someone who I was not familiar with whatsoever, a pretty close number 2. The way how he is just overthinks everything. I mean, that opening scene in episode 1, where, you know, he's on American Horror Story, and I'm a fan of American Horror Story, but the way that he was overthinking the whole entire script, looking for any subtext that he can do, I'm just like, dude, it's American Horror Story. You don't need to look for that much subtext when it comes to it. And sure enough, it's what gets him cut. And then later on, like, he's just overthinking every single thought. You know, the self-tape episode, that was in episode, was it 2 or 3? But in that episode, I was like, well, I can't do it at the house. You know, there's some bad mojo over there. Okay, let me get the studio. Oh, nope, it's not going to play right. Maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do that. And his conversations with Trevor, or how most people know him by as the Mandarin from Iron Man 3, and how they have very similar arcs that I did not know that we were going to go through, because he is also someone who has a hard time of owning up to his mistakes. That, like, he doesn't really take any full responsibility for his shortcomings. More Trevor than Simon, for sure, but the way the show is presented, it makes it seem like Simon has it more than Trevor in a lot of ways. And the way that it wraps up within the finale, I just thought it was really, really good. And again, Simon was so relatable to me as someone who is constantly an overthinker, watching an overthinker. There was a lot of times where I just put the blanket over me. I'm like, oh my God, I have been there. And also someone who has a little bit of a temper problem. Now, Simon doesn't consistently show that, but I really thought the metaphor of his powers was a reflection of someone who gets a little tad frustrated consistently. And if you push him over the brink, then yeah, you know, things are going to explode. As someone who has struggled with that in the past and who is continuing to work on it, again, I just found it very, very relatable, and I just could not help but root him on. And as also someone who loves movies, who hopes to do movies one day, more behind the camera than in front of the camera, like Simon, I was again, I was just really admired by the character and by Yaya's performance of Simon in the television show. And then, of course, like, again, Trevor, the Mandarin, whatever you want to call him, has honestly become one of my favorite consistent characters. Their relationship and their bromance is just so, it's just so much fun to watch in a lot of ways. I mean, they had a really good dynamic, you know. Simon would be overthinking about something, and then Trevor's like, no, you just got to think of it like this, and how he would always calm him down. It was just very it was just very sweet to see in a lot of ways. It was a good friendship that was being built all around. And then we build up to this finale where there is no big final fight. It's not your typical Marvel ending. Yes, Marvel Studios is above the marquee for this television show, but it's not a superhero show by whatsoever. They told the story that what was best for the characters. And, you know, that was a course of correction that we have been asking for Marvel for since post Phase 4. You know, WandaVision was this drama that about this girl who was battling from within. And then we build up to this finale where, you know, it becomes a Marvel fight. Overall, I didn't mind the WandaVision finale, but I can understand the criticism why people would think such a thing. Like, yeah, you know, it kind of lost its identity in a lot of ways. And we could say that with about a lot of the shows from the Disney Plus era that Marvel television has done. And this one, they're like, look, this is about a guy who's trying to get a role, and another guy, you know, they meet, they become best friends. We're going to keep it to this, and it's just going to be about, it's going to be about this friendship and about this overarching issue that they have been having. I don't know why I'm talking like it's not going to be spoilers here. We do talk spoilers here openly on television shows, but you know, Trevor trying to hide that he was originally meant to spy on Simon, but then he ended up being endeared by Simon, then that all coming out, then Trevor going back to being the Mandarin at the end, getting locked up, and then Simon going method to be the security guard in order to break Trevor out. Again, I just thought that was the right story to tell for the story. It didn't need a big fight. It didn't need, you know, oh, you need to use your powers. You need to save the day. No, this whole story was about he needs to be in that role. He needs to make that movie. And then he does it. And then we had a nice little epilogue to bring the two friends together. And, you know, I actually got a text about the show right before I hit record. And I think she explained it perfectly, that it has been a long time since I watched a Marvel movie or a Marvel show that just left me smiling. It just really felt like, you know, a cozy, comforting show. Like you just gather up in a blanket, you got a cup of hot cocoa, and it was just a nice watch. I added some things there at the end there, but that's basically what she said. And I really do 100% agree with her. It's a show that I wouldn't mind watching again, like, and binge watching all the way through. Now, I would fast forward some of the spots that really reflect me in a lot of way, like, you know, episode 1. The only real problem I had with it, because I thought the runtime for each episode was pretty good. Even episode 4, again, I really didn't enjoy it, even though I think that is the sore spot within the whole thing. What did happen to Josh Gad, by the way? Is he really dead? But is episode 6 is where I feel like the runtime really hurt itself, because that was the callback episode. And, you know, Simon is struggling really hard during this callback, and he really wants it, but he can't seem to get out of his head whatsoever. And then, of course, he figures it out, and he does make the comeback, and he does get the role of Wonder Man, right? And I just really feel like we did not see enough of the comeback. We only saw one scene afterwards, and oh, that was enough to get it. I would like to see a little bit more of that. Each practice that they did, it just builds up, and then it gets that win. And again, I just don't think they had the time in order to show that. I do believe they filmed it. I do believe there was a lot more that they filmed that could have shown Simon getting his way back to impress the director and being able to get the role, as opposed to, okay, we're going to cut back to one scene and then that's it. He got it. We all know he's going to get it. Again, I just would like to see a little bit more of that climb, as opposed to, well, he's obviously going to get it. That's really my only criticism when it comes to the show. Overall, it executed it, what it intended to do. Again, going back to what the main crux of this video was, is defending the all drop at once. Again, I understand why you would have some pessimism, I guess that's the right word. I don't know if there's a better word for it as to why you think Marvel would drop it all at once, because there is some consistencies to the shows that they did do it to. But overall, I think they put the show in the best place that they believed, and I believe as well for it to succeed. It was a 4-hour movie split up into 8 30-minute intervals. And I think it's all the better for it. I do hope we get a season 2. I hope the viewership is there. Word of mouth is strong enough. Let's hope people push play. But with that being said, comment below. Let me know your thoughts on Wonder Man. You heard mine. Leave a like if you made it this far within the review. I do greatly appreciate it. And hit that subscribe button as it helps me grow into my YouTube career. And don't forget to squeeze the days, guys, because life is too short not to give you all. So squeeze every opportunity that you can. Until next time, I'll see you here at Lemon Studios.